Well, as of today, I've been home from India for 10 days. I'm not sure that's enough distance to really reflect on the pilgrimage that 6 of us from our church took to the far reaches of Northeast India to visit our Unitarian siblings, but I want to try to tell you something about it. The question has come up a couple times why we would go all that way, spend all the money, and do the time to focus on people so far away when we have problems right here to solve. And I don't mind that question. I think the answer is easy for me to answer. For one, we are working locally. We're working on all kinds of things, from reducing teen pregnancy in our city to many other things, building places for people to engage in dialogue about transgender life and so forth. So that shouldn't rule out working globally. And 2, we have committed to a 5-year partnership with the Children's Village in this part of the world, a place where our Unitarian friends serve children in need. And 3, I think, because we have much more to gain and learn from them than they have to gain from us. So I want to describe what we did and conclude some spiritual lessons for us from it. First thing is to say that there is nothing easy about these pilgrimages. It takes over 20 hours of flying, many hours of chaotic driving on roads with no rules, no controls, and in many cases, no pavement at all. And then it is like an extended camping trip with temperatures in the 30s to 50s. There is no central heat, few luxuries, careful eating, water filtration, all done in a culture that we don't understand or know, that we try to relate to. So we don't go for vacation. We don't go to tour or for adventure. We go for the people and the faith and for the opportunity to heal and be healed. Let me explain a few things first about Unitarians in Northeast India. You see, Unitarianism didn't arrive there like a mighty savior in the form of missionaries in the 1800s. It was adopted by Hajam Kishore Singh, a Northeast Indian tribal man who was working as a surveyor in a British land office in the late 1800s. He was converted from his indigenous tribal religion to Methodism. Singh started to observe his converters, the Welsh missionaries. He said they had done away with the fears of demons in his culture, which he was grateful for, but they had replaced it with the fear of hell. And he didn't like how they were hostile to the Catholics who were there and also to his own people, how unfriendly they were to him when he started to conclude that their faith was not for him. He said he wanted to leave their church to seek the true religion of Jesus, the love of God. So Kishore Singh, this man in the middle of nowhere in the late 1800s from a tribe in the villages of Northeast India, started to study, and he realized what he said was the Presbyterians and the Methodists and the Catholics had a religion about Jesus, not of Jesus. So he set out to rewrite a religion, to create a religion of love for God and man. His religion was infused with his mystical experiences that he had in the land, walking through his region, sitting by the rivers and the sacred groves. So he developed a part of his faith, which was honoring God, but also creation, which turned into now an environmental appreciation of God's creation. Singh created a religion he called the religion of one God of love, and spread his faith through the hills in poems and songs that he wrote, and walked through these villages singing to the people and teaching them about this one God, one love religion. It was only a few years later that he met somebody who was called a Unitarian, who said, "What you're describing is Unitarianism." So he started to read the texts of the 1800s Unitarians in Britain and America, and he called his new faith Unitarianism. There are now over 10,000 Unitarians in the state of Meghalaya, a place that is south of Bhutan, north of Bangladesh, and west of Myanmar. They have churches that are large and small. We visited a church that is the size of ours, over 1,000 members, and we visited small churches sizes of 200 or fewer. There are whole villages of Unitarians. And on Sunday morning, out in the far reaches, you can hear the bells and the gongs calling people to church, all of them Unitarian. That is the context. So here is the project. The Unitarians of Northeast India created a service project in the form of a group home of sorts called Annie Margaret Barr Children's Village, a place for state-placed children or children whose families couldn't take care of them, a place of social good. In this home, children are housed and fed and clothed and educated and counseled and supported and held in the love of the church. This home is our partner. We committed through the Unitarian Universalist Partner Church Council to this 5-year relationship of supporting them. We also sponsor children in the home. 5 families in our church are now sponsoring 5 of their 24 children. The cost is $54 a month. So we just returned from our second journey there. What did we do? We started in this chaotic small city that is between 4,000 and 6,000 feet in the northeast India called Shillong. In Shillong, there are Unitarian churches like this one. In there, children lead services and speeches are given. This is our youth, Plashi, giving a speech. There are many speeches given and received in India. And values are expressed that always tied to God's love. This is Mimi, the religious education director in one of the churches in Shillong. She said to us in a longer speech about their curriculum, where there is love, there is kindness. Where there is kindness, there is blessing. That sums up the whole curriculum of the religious education department in their church. Where there is love, there is kindness, blessing. We traveled to the countryside, beautiful landscape of hills and jungles and farms, to root bridges. These are bridges that are formed out of the roots of the rubber tree, inch by inch, trained across these giant rivers. 100, 120, 150-year-old bridges that now carry people over the monsoon waters. I think of these bridges as symbols of our connection with these Unitarians in India. Symbols of strength and hope and relationship. We were embedded in the children's village for a week. These are the 5 children that are sponsored by members of our church. We did projects that were craft projects. The children were off from school, and so we spent time with them doing prayer cards. This is one of them. It says, "May God bless us," Tu Nang Groi, which says, keep going, keep progressing. We had 2 members of our group working in the clinics, both in the town we were in and in a larger clinic. Here, Aaron, Plashi's father, is seeing a patient with the doctor, and here Judy and Aaron are seeing a member of the community who came to visit with Judy, who's a physical therapist. We hung around a lot. I say in India there is more time, no distractions. The biggest distraction we had was a little puppy who would pull on our clothes. We were committed to doing service when they needed us, and here one of the youth that we brought started to work on tearing up the concrete floor of a chicken coop. And he also created a basketball game out of a fishing net. The children played basketball at this net for hours and ours. Stephen, who was with us as a painter, painted a mural that began as a symbol of our connection between the two organizations, our church and theirs, symbols of the rubber tree bridges between the Annie Margaret Barr Children's Village and First Unitarian Church in Dallas. We were greeted, we spent time, and in our time we began to observe and learn. Learn about sacred groves and the people and the children. And that's where I want to start a story of the red hat. This is a picture of Wonkaman, who's 7. She's sponsored by Tim and Lisa Gibson, who are over there. They sent her a FC Dallas knit cap through me. They also sent letters. These 2 children were receiving gifts and letters from their sponsors. Wonkaman put the hat on that morning. Now follow the hat. Now Dapi is wearing the hat. Now another girl is wearing the hat. The hat moved maybe through 5 or 6 or 7 people. By the end of the week, one of the teenagers studying for her exams was wearing the red hat. Now the pediatricians and the parents in the house are going, what about lice? And they're very clean, there's no lice. The point of the story of the red hat is this. When we went for this walk, we asked them, who owns all this land around the village? Who owns the farmland in these hills? They looked at us a little perplexed and said, we do. When we pressed, we said, what do you mean, we do? And they said, the village owns the fields. So we said, you mean these are communal fields? If anybody wants to walk out and grow crops, they can? And they said, yes. The spirit of communalism permeates this culture. The land is not owned by private farmers. The land, it was owned by the village. Anyone can cultivate it. So is the hat, and the shoes, and the scarves, and the privacy. There is no sense of personal possession. The American spirit of possession and ownership is challenged when we go there. If you leave your shoes at the door, someone else will be wearing them by the end of the day. The red hat inadvertently pushes us to open to a deeper sense of generosity that says possession is a fiction. That the care of things and people and communities goes beyond self-interest. I'll go back to this picture. Dapi in the green or blue shirt there also received from her sponsor a letter and a picture of Michelle Touche, who's her sponsor. When she looked at the picture, she said, is this woman in the picture going to be my mother now? There's meaning lost in that translation because in our possessive American minds, she thinks that we're going to take her to America and she's going to be driven to Lakewood Elementary School. But what she means in that question, in a culture where possession is not self-interested, she means, will this person now join the love and nurture of our community? Can we count on this person to be part of the mother's care that I receive? Part of the fabric of our shared possession of life? That's what she means. That's the first lesson in our journey there. And I don't think I'm being seduced by wanting to be part of some mystical cultural experience. I think I'm seeing this pretty clearly, partly because I lived in India in my 20s and because now I've been back there 2 times. And all is not Shangri-La there. Poverty is real, subsistence is real. Those who go expecting a mystical India are disappointed. Mostly people are just trying to get by. So when we look at this picture and we see a nice boy with a fire, we think, oh, that's like the fire pit we can make in the back of our house. But in fact, this fire is how we kept warm at night. When we look at this picture of Jennifer, one of our pilgrims, shaking hands with one of the new girls in the village, we see a cute, beautiful girl, bright-eyed. She looks to be about 5, 6, 7 years old, but in fact she's 10. She was malnourished in her home and in her village and has rickets and bow legs that may never be fixed. We wonder if she will grow to her full size. Nevertheless, she is passing the test, having never been in school before, is now skipping grades going forward, is nurtured into love in the children's village. There's no easy transportation, clean water, food preparation. There are no supermarkets. There's no empty car on the road. There's no central heat. There's no assumptions that life is easy. So what sustains them is their faith. Faith that is not complicated, is not skeptical. Faith in church communities led by farmers and laity in churches and in home prayers. This is what it looks like inside the church where I preach. A quick story on my preaching there. I preached about a 10-minute sermon, and the minister who was there came up to me and said he loved my sermon, and he said, and it was amazing how short it was. He said they preach sermons that are 45 minutes. The next time you complain of my sermon's 22 minutes, remember that. These are the musicians and the lay leader who's a farmer, who is the president of the board of this church. House meetings where prayers are said and sung. There were 2 women in that picture, one closer to the man on the right who preached a sermon. The training ground for preaching is the house. Faith in prayers for each other. Faith in chalices that burn brightly in church windows and on homes and on doors. A symbol of a fire of love that never goes out. A faith in a God that is within and beyond us, in the fatherhood and motherhood of God, is what they say, the creator of all and sustainer of all. A faith that includes a sense of immortality, notion that after death we are souls that rest in the land of our clans, a kind of ethereal retirement home for all people. That is, by the way, in a sense, the most comforting thought I have encountered in Unitarianism about the life hereafter. It lacks a fear of hell or a pressure of getting into heaven. It puts the dead in our lives, companions with those we love. Theirs is a faith that says to love God is to love humanity, which is the work of us all. One of their hymns says, until peace and happiness is secure in the world, we must love. Not that love of God and humanity is a private matter. It is a responsibility. Theirs is a faith that is embodied in the singing of the songs of their founders. I had a chance to translate a hymn with one of their ministers, Nangroy Suting. He and I translated the hymn called Na Kli Kilom Mangshang, which goes like this. Stand on the highest Himalayan peak, look and see the place of your spiritual longing. Can you satisfy your deepest thirst, knowing that from here you cannot connect the spiritual truths without tuning your heart to the strong, soft, gentle, divine, which is near and really where you long to be? What can you do to approach a faith that puts you on this spiritual path toward your heart's longing? How can you live to get yourself there, the song says? And the answer is to be true to your heart mind, true to yourself, and let the soul of this pursuit pull you toward a great peace. What shall you do, it says, to find the love truth you long for? The answer, live with a holy and pious intent. Live a life without jealousy that longs more for God through speech and prayer than anything else. Grow your relationship with God and the holy. That is the task. And if you can do this, you will know you are already there at the place of your longing, a heaven of love and peace and now. The theology says a longing for God without skepticism about that word, without wrestling about a belief or a disbelief, but trying to live piously and whole, trying to live in a place of longing, always longing for the holy to be part of your life. That is the quasi-Unitarian theology. Lessons for us. Can we uncomplicate our faith and say the God of our being within and beyond, that highest conception of love, lives in our lives, and our job is to spread that love for the world, for peace and happiness? Can we live with a sense of longing, asking ourselves, what is at the heart's longing? David White said, longing is the first transfiguration of aloneness, the defenseless interior secret core of a person receiving its overdue invitation from the moon, the stars, the hidden night horizon, the tidal flows of life and love. Can we live longing for something more than things to put on our shelves or in our bellies? Can we live longing for the holy every day and every minute of our lives? Whenever I go on such a pilgrimage, and by the way, you don't have to come on the pilgrimage to India to be on a pilgrimage of the soul. You could be here for the first time today, longing for something, longing for a community of love which is here. Or you could be at the beginning of a new chapter in your life, or listening to something that is urging you to make a change in your heart. That is a pilgrimage of the Spirit. Every time I do that, I arrive at the shore that calls to me and says, what am I longing to realize? Something written inside me, like the poem said. And the poet reminds us, you are not leaving even as the light fades, you are arriving. We are always arriving at that longing if we pay attention. Going to the Kazi Hills, I think we may have made some children happy. We may have made the mark or impression with a mural or some time spent. We may have made their lives a little easier, but where we are arriving in our work with the Kazi Unitarians is at a place of pondering what we long for, a place that reminds us that our faith is the faith of love, whose aim it is to make the world whole. The pilgrims from this church go there and are reminded of the absurd amount of luxury we have and take for granted when we sit in places where there is nothing. When we are here, we can order something and it is on our doorstep tomorrow. We can walk into a supermarket and pull something our heart's desires want to eat. So when we go, we are reminded when we come back, the world is so much bigger. The world is larger than our imagination and plainer and more mundane. And in the great mix of the human soup of the globe, there are Unitarian siblings who have so much less than we have. And they are praying for us today. They are literally praying for our church and for you this morning. They are praying prayers that we will be happy and at peace. That we will know and learn something that will save the world. What I learn when I go there is about generosity and possessiveness, about God and about love, and about our mission to make peace and happiness something for everyone, not just for my life. Your faith today puts you on a spiritual path. Does it put you on a path toward your heart's longing? Will you accept the charge to think deeply, to feel deeply what you are longing for? The Kazi hymn says to you this morning, be true to your heart mind. Be true to yourself. And let the soul of your pursuit pull you toward a great peace. I bring you greetings from Unitarians so far away you will never meet them, maybe, but they love you anyway. Kublai, Nangroi, and keep going, keep progressing. Amen.